Good morning. Let us discuss what are energy bands. To discuss energy bands, we need to discuss the energy levels of isolated atoms. We know that for an isolated atoms, the electrons can have discrete energy levels. The energy levels for an isolated hydrogen atom are given by the Bohr's model, where the energy EH is given by minus m0 q to the power 4 divided by brackets 8 epsilon 0 square h square n square bracket close, and that turns out to be minus 13.6 divided by n square in electron volts. Here m0 is the free electron mass, q is the electronic charge, epsilon 0 is the free space permittivity, h is the Planck constant, and n is the positive integer called the principal quantum number. The quantity EV in electron volt is an energy unit corresponding to the energy gained by an electron when its potential is increased by 1 volt. This is a known fact. It is equal to the product of Q, which is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulombs, and 1 volt, or 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 joules. The discrete energies are minus 13.6 electron volt for ground state energy. If you put it in the formula, EH is equal to minus 13.6 divided by n square in electron volts. For n is equal to 1, it turns out to be 13.6 in electron volts. For n is equal to 2, it will be for the first excited energy state, that is equal to minus 3.4 electron volts, and so on. We can calculate all the energy levels by substituting the values of n. Studies have revealed that for higher principal quantum numbers, that is for n greater than or equal to 2, the energy levels are split according to their angular momentum quantum number, that is L is equal to 0, 1, 2 up to n minus 1. We now consider two identical atoms. When they are far apart, the allowed energy levels for a given principal quantum number, let's say for n is equal to 1, consist of one doubly degenerate level, that is both atoms have exactly the same energy. When they are brought closer, the doubly degenerate energy levels will split into two levels by interaction between the atoms. As n isolated atoms are brought together to form a solid, the orbits of the outer electrons of different atoms overlap and interact with each other. This interaction, including those forces of attraction and repulsion between atoms, causes a shift in the energy levels, as in the case of two interacting atoms. However, instead of two levels, n separate but closely spaced energy levels are formed. When n is large, the result is an essentially continuous band of energy. This band of n levels can extend to over a few electron volts depending upon the interatomic spacing of the crystal. To show the effect, where the parameter A represents the equilibrium interatomic distance of the crystal, we make use of a diagram. The actual band splitting in semiconductor is much more complicated. If we take an isolated silicon atom which has 14 electrons, of the 14 electrons, 10 occupy deeply energy levels whose orbital radius is much smaller than the interatomic separation in the crystal. The 4 remaining valence electrons are relatively weakly bound to and can be involved in chemical reactions. Therefore, we need to consider the outer shell for n is equal to 3 level for the valence electrons, since the two inner shells are completely full and tightly bound to the nucleus. The 3s for n is equal to 3 and L is equal to 0 has 2 allowed quantum states per atom. This subshell will contain 2 valence electrons at T is equal to 0 Kelvin. The 3p subshell, that is n is equal to 3 and L is equal to 1, has 6 allowed quantum states per atom. This subshell will contain the remaining 2 valence electrons of an individual silicon atom. In a schematic diagram of the formation of silicon crystal from n isolated silicon atoms, the interatomic distance, as the interatomic distance decreases, the 3s and 3p subshell of the n silicon atoms will interact and overlap. At the equilibrium interatomic distance, the bands will again split with 4 quantum states per atom in the lower band and 4 quantum states per atom in the upper band. At the temperature of absolute zero, the electrons occupy the lowest energy state, so that all states in the lower band, that is the valence band, will be full, and all the states in the upper band, the conduction band, will be empty. The bottom of the conduction band is called EC, and the top of the valence band is called EV. The band gap energy Eg between the bottom of the conduction band and the top of the valence band Ec minus Ev is the width of the forbidden energy gap. Physically, Eg is the energy required to break the bond of the semiconductor to free an electron to the conduction band and leave a hole in the valence band. Now we use energy momentum diagram. The energy momentum diagram is used by taking the energy of a free electron, which is given by E is equal to P square by 2 m0, where P is the momentum and m0 is the free electron mass. If we plot E versus P, we obtain a parabola. In a semiconductor crystal, an electron in the conduction band is similar to free electron that is relatively free to move about in the crystal. However, because the periodic potential of the nuclei E is equal to P square by 2 m0 is no longer valid, it turns out that we can still use this equation if we replace the free electron mass in equation by an effective mass mn. The subscript n refers to the negative charge on the electron, that is E is equal to P square by 2 mn. The electron effective mass depends on the properties of the semiconductor. If we have an energy momentum relationship, then we can obtain the effective mass from the second derivative of E with respect to P. So effective mass Mn, that is given by d square E by dp square to the power of minus 1. Therefore, the narrower the parabola, which we draw as E is equal to P square by 2m, that gives us a parabola. The narrower the parabola, this corresponds to a larger second derivative, the smaller the effective mass. A similar expression can be written for holes with effective mass mp, where P refers to the positive charge on the hole. The effective mass concept is very useful because it enables us to treat electrons and holes essentially as classical charged particles. A simplified energy momentum relationship of special semiconductor with an electron effective mass Mn is equal to 0.25 m0 in the conduction band, the upper parabola as shown in the diagram, and a hole effective mass Mp is equal to m0 in the valence band, the lower parabola. That electron energy is measured upward and the whole energy is measured downward. The spacing at P is equal to 0 between these two parabolas is the band gap Eg as shown previously. The actual energy momentum relationship, also called the energy band diagram, for silicon and gallium arsenide are much more complex. We have shown in a figure for two crystal directions. We note that the general features are similar to the ones which we have discussed earlier. First of all, there is a band gap Eg between the bottom of the conduction band and top of the valence band. Second, near the minimum of the conduction band or the maximum of the valence band, the EP curves are essentially parabolic. For silicon, the maximum in the valence band occurs at P is equal to 0, but the minimum in the conduction band occurs along the 1, 0, 0 direction at P is equal to Pc. Therefore, in silicon, when an electron makes a transition from the maximum point in the valence band to the minimum point in the conduction band, it requires not only an energy change which is greater than or equal to Eg, but also some momentum change greater than or equal to Pc. For gallium arsenide, the maximum in the valence band and the minimum in the conduction band occur at the same momentum at P is equal to 0. Thus, an electron making a transition from valence band to the conduction band can do so without a change in momentum. Gallium arsenide is called a direct semiconductor because it does not require a change in momentum for an electron transition from the valence band to the conduction band. Silicon is called indirect semiconductor because a change of momentum is required in transition. This difference between direct and indirect structures is very important for light emitting diodes and semiconductor lasers. These devices require direct semiconductors for efficient generation of photons. We can obtain the effective mass from those figures. For example, for gallium arsenide with very narrow conduction band parabola, the electron effective mass is about 0.063 MO, where for silicon with a wider conduction band parabola, the electron effective mass is 0.19 MO. Now we talk about conduction in metals, semiconductors and insulators. The enormous variation in electrical conductivity of metals, semiconductors and insulators are shown in figure. May be explained qualitatively in terms of the energy bands. We shall see that the electron occupation of the highest band of the highest two bands determines the conductivity of a solid. The figure shows the energy band diagrams of these three solids, which are metals, semiconductors and insulators. The metals, the characteristic of a metal, also called a semiconductor, include a very low value of resistivity, and the conduction band either is partially filled, such as copper, or overlaps the valence band, such as zinc or lead, so that there is no band gap as shown in figure. As a consequence, the uppermost electrons in the partially filled band or electrons at the top of the valence band can move to the next higher available energy level when they gain kinetic energy from an applied electric field. Electrons are free to move with only a small applied field in a metal because there are many occupied states close to the occupied energy levels. Therefore, current conduction can readily occur in conductors. For insulators, an insulator such as silicon dioxide SiO2, the valence electrons form strong bonds between neighboring atoms. These bonds are difficult to break, and consequently there are no free electrons to participate in current conduction or at near room temperature. As shown in the energy band diagram, insulators are characterized by large band gap. Note the conduction. The electrons occupy all the energy levels in the valence band, and all energy levels of the conduction band are empty. Thermal energy, or the energy of an applied electric field, is sufficient to raise the uppermost electron in the valence band to the conduction band. Thus, although an insulator has many vacant states in the conduction band that can accept electrons, so few electrons actually occupy conduction band states, and the overall contribution to the electrical conductivity is very small, resulting in a very high resistivity. Therefore, silicon dioxide is an insulator, it cannot conduct current. We now talk about semiconductors. Now consider a material that has much smaller energy gap of the order of 1 electron volt. Such materials are called semiconductors. At T is equal to 0 Kelvin, all electrons in the valence band, and there are no electrons in the conduction band. Thus, semiconductors are poor conductors of lower temperatures. At room temperature and under normal atmosphere, values of Eg are 1.12 electron volt for silicon and 1.42 electron volt for gallium arsenide. The thermal energy kT at room temperature is a good fraction of Eg, and an appreciable number of electrons are thermally excited from valence band to the conduction band. Since there are many empty states in the conduction band, a small applied potential and can easily move these electrons, resulting in a moderate current.